Deep in the forest, there was a hidden village where tiny creatures lived. They call themselves
Smurfs. Everyone's favorite little elves? Wait, what actually are they? Alright, small humanoid creatures, just like me. They've been turned into one of the highest grossing media franchises of all time, with an estimated revenue of $4 billion.
Here comes the money.
$4 billion for the Smurfs. Comics, TV shows, films, video games, little diabetes pellets sticking out of their necks. Wait, ice-capades?
Smurfs Alive, the latest craze. See those friendly, funny TV characters now in Ice-capades.
Okay, that's weird, but maybe not as weird as what they do in my homeland of Iceland, where they sing inoffensive versions of Coolio's Gangster's Paradise called Smurfs Paradise. And with mad bits like that, there's really no surprise. I used to love these little guys as a kid. I was literally obsessed with the Smurfs. Here's me with a Smurf cake as proof. Shout out to my mum on that one. I can still taste the frosting all these years later. Don't get me wrong, she's not dead or anything. She just hasn't made me a Smurfs cake in more than 20 years. So she's dead to me. The Smurfs have literally seen and done it all. Just don't ask what they've seen and done. The horrors. They're unimaginable. My favorite thing about the Smurfs might be the fact that they use the word Smurf interchangeably for pretty much anything.
What the Smurf? No! I think I just smurfed my pants.
That Smurf just shot at himself and then described that shot as the species he is. If that isn't poetry, I don't know what is. But I genuinely hadn't thought about the Smurfs in donkeys until I saw this trailer for their new film.
What the Smurf?
Rihanna is Smurfette. If I were to imagine a Venn diagram of Rihanna fans on one side and Smurfs fans on the other side, I wouldn't imagine there being a great deal of overlap between the two. But this whole thing also just reminds me of that great, amazing Gabriel Gundaker song.
Zendaya is Michi, and LeBron James is Gwangi.
But this trailer got me thinking about my former love for the Smurfs, and honestly, it made me a little bit sad. We used to be best buddies, and now we're not. I wish you could tell me why. So I decided, you know what, screw that. This is my life, I gotta take control. Yes. So, I've decided to rekindle my love for the Smurfs in the healthiest way possible. Watching Smurfs content for 24 hours straight. Does that sound incredibly stupid? Well, that's only because it is. So, what's the game plan? 24 hours, 5 films, 2 television series, 2 video games, and a whole lot of mayhem, baby. Let's go! Throughout this journey, I will be sharing my thoughts on every single one of these wonderful creations, and because it's the only way we can process information in the age of brain rot, I will also be doing a tier list. Let's do this Smurfing thing. I woke up bright and early on a Saturday to start my Smurf venture, and let's just say I was already regretting my decision. But never mind that, I was locked in and didn't waste any time getting started with the first film of the day, The Smurfs and the Magic Flute from 1975. So what's the story? A medieval king and his court are enjoying the blood sport of jousting.
It's been a...
After everyone's had their fill of pain and misery, the court jester, William, treats everyone to some lovely celebratory music.
Now you must all believe.
Oh no, is it not so good? So when a merchant comes to town selling his musical wares,
hurdy-gurdy.
the king wants him gone before William finds out. And after a proper scratch and sniff,
Superb.
they finally get to leave. But uh-oh, he accidentally dropped a flute. Thankfully, the king has it covered with some lightning quick reactions and tries to destroy the evidence in his fireplace. This doesn't go exactly to plan, and William still ends up with the flute. He then discovers its ability to force people into a hypnotic trance where they dance, and William has no moral qualms with using this on literally anyone he sees. What a psychopath.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's flute to mine.
Later that night, the merchant is hawking his shite at a nearby tavern when we're introduced to the film's main antagonist, who's quite clearly just Matt Berry in a silly hat.
Yes, it is cool, I thought.
This character's name is, and I'm not making this up, Oily McCreep. And you know what? I love that. McCreep hears the merchant mention the magical flute, and after some questioning discovers that the flute is at the king's castle. He makes his way over there quickly and tricks William into handing over the flute before running away into the night. At this point of the film, I was thinking 2 things. Number 1, how much I love this Hanna-Barbera animation style. And number 2,
Where the fuck are all the Smurfs?
this was about 25 minutes into the film and I was getting very confused. The next day, William and his friend John go hunting after McCreep, who is using the flute to rob people. Their attempt to apprehend him goes south very quickly because they forgot to account for the fact that he has a magic fucking hypnotism flute and they do not. William and John then meet up with a wizard character who they think will be able to help them counter the magic of the flute. Unfortunately, he says no one knows the secrets of the magic flute.
Apart from the Smurfs, of course.
Yes, we're more than 30 minutes into this film and we still haven't seen a single full Smurf. For God's sakes, take us to them. Thankfully, my prayers are soon answered as Omnibus sends our heroes to the land of the Smurfs in a totally chill and not at all menacing way. And I simply couldn't contain my excitement when I saw the first bit of blue pop out of the bushes. This excitement was quickly smurfed out though, as I soon came to realise that the Smurfs in this film sound absolutely awful.
Well, if it isn't John and William.
I genuinely could not understand what they were saying most of the time, both because their voices are either way too distorted and squeaky,
I blend words and rhyme. I do it all of the time.
or way too distorted and low.
Whether I get the chance, as you will no doubt see.
On top of that, the Smurfs, which are traditionally known to be quite musical creatures, are also tone deaf as hell.
All of the Smurfs look the same. All of the same. All of the same.
Jesus. While this version of the Smurfs might sound like a horde of squeaky shopping trolleys, they still retain the most important aspect of being a Smurf, their principles. So when they hear that a magic flute is being used for evil, they quickly fashion a new counter flute to defeat McCreep, only really taking breaks for the most important stuff, like trying to murder Brainy Smurf. While all of this is going on, McCreep has been very busy catching up with his friend Mumford.
You were the first real buddy I ever had.
And together they hatch a plan to raise an army and take over the whole country with the money McCreep has stolen.
Because he's my best friend, he's my pal, he's my homeboy, my rotten soldier.
To do this, they need to go to an island filled with mercenaries and buy their services. Luckily, the Smurfs catch wind of this plan, and along with John and William, they head to the island to stop the two evildoers, which leads to an epic flute-off between William and McCreep. And you know what? Even I found myself mesmerized. William, of course, comes out on top, and our two heroes return home victorious, to great applause. But something is a bit off. You see, William is staggering behind John because he's trying to make a fake version of the magic flute, so he can keep the real one and give a copy back to the Smurfs. Thankfully, because he's an idiot, William still ends up handing the magic flute over to Papa Smurf, so all's well that ends well. But let's think about this for a moment. One of the heroes of the film has just seen all of the destruction that this flute is capable of and still wanted to use it to hypnotize people. I'll say it again for the people in the back. William is a fucking maniac. So let's rate this film. I was originally riding the high of being reunited with the Smurfs, so in the moment I marked this down as a B tier. But after having thought about it some more, there are two things that I have to dock it points for. Number one, there is no Gargamel, and even though animated Matt Berry is a decent stand-in, I still miss Gargi, so that moves this down to C tier. I then found out through some research that the production company of the English dub went out of their way not to use unionized voice actors for this film, and I will not stand for any anti-union bollocks. It's not very Smurfy behavior, so that moves this film squarely into its final placement of D tier. Next up on the watch list was a back-to-back of the Smurfs from 2011 and the Smurfs 2 from 2013. I'm going to save us some time and talk about both of these at the same time because they're largely the same film and my likes and dislikes related to them are mostly the same. My lovely girlfriend Aaron was kind enough to join me for most of the day smurfing and puts up with all of my insanity on a day-to-day basis, so lots of love to her. So what's the story? Gargamel tries to capture the Smurfs so he can harvest their essence for magic. The Smurfs fight back, ultimately defeat him, and of course everyone tries to kill Brainy. Only this time, the Smurfs are aided by a series of human characters, and the films are set in New York and Paris. So let's start off with things I liked about these films. As I mentioned, Gargamel finally joins the party, and Hank Azaria absolutely kills it in this role.
Yeah, but you're milking it.
Jonathan Winters was also an amazing Papa Smurf, and Aaron and I both agreed he was our favourite of all the Papas.
I won't ever give up.
We were also quite shocked to see that Brendan Gleeson shows up in the Smurfs 2 and gives a stellar performance, even though he spends quite a bit of his time as a goose after being transformed by Gargamel. Brendan Gleeson. Am I right? Ooh. Sorry. And this might seem a little surprising to many given the current climate we're in, but I really thought Katy Perry did a very decent job as Smurfette.
How do you like my new dress?
For the most part.
I kissed a Smurf and I liked it.
Those are pretty much all the nice things I have to say about these films. Now on to my rant. First of all, I absolutely hate it when kids' films take the source material, pull it out of its natural habitat, and shove it into the real world. You've got this incredible world filled to the brim with fantasy and wonder, and instead of expanding upon that, you want to bring the Smurfs into modern day Earth? Really? A place where fascism's on the rise, war crimes are rampant, and people are still trying to convince me that crypto isn't a pyramid scheme pushed by alcoholic incels. Seriously guys, I'm not buying any fucking cum coins. The Smurfs don't need any of that real world nonsense, okay? They've already got a system that works perfectly.
Communism.
And I'm not saying this enchanted approach to storytelling never works, okay? But as a general rule, it just seems like a cop-out to me to bring these characters into the real world. I don't think most kids have enjoyed the Smurfs for decades because of their relationship with Neil Patrick Harris as the VP of marketing for a fragrance company. Imagine if instead of Star Wars being set in a galaxy far, far away, how about the gang just comes to the Big Apple and hangs out at a coffee house? I also couldn't really put my finger on why I didn't like the character designs for the Smurfs in this film. Remember how Sonic was supposed to look before the studio received major backlash and made him a more accurate representation of his character? Well, in my opinion, that's exactly what these films desperately needed too, because this is just giving me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. I think I'll give them a C on the tier list because even though I didn't care for them very much, Aaron quite likes the first one and I can see kids having fun watching it. Now let's move on to something that I think is pretty great. Smurfs and the Lost Village is exactly what I hoped an animated Smurfs film would do. It didn't light the world on fire and actually reviewed quite poorly, but I don't care. It shows an incredible amount of love for the source material and also expands upon it in a way that feels organic. The best compliments I can give this film is that I didn't really take down many notes while I was watching it because I was just into it. The film covers Smurfette's backstory. Let me give you the lowdown. Smurfette isn't actually a Smurf. She was a piece of clay that Gargamel infused with magic to infiltrate the Smurfs and lead Gargamel to them. But the Smurfs managed to turn her into one of them through pure love, magic, and wonder. But Smurfette feels out of place in Smurf Village. Every other Smurf has their distinguishing characteristic or traits. Brainy, clumsy, hefty, beauty, dummy, and she's just Smurfette. But after a chance encounter, Smurfette feels drawn to move beyond the safety of the village. There's just something about this creature she just can't shake. Her friends decide to support her in her search for answers because Smurfs are awesome, and what follows are some quite beautifully animated scenes of their journey filled with life, colour, and charm. The gang eventually makes their way to the Lost Village, which is filled with, and you may have guessed it already, other female Smurfs. What? Smurfette finally feels like her place in the world is more solidified, and it's all very, very cute. Unfortunately, Gargamel has also followed the gang, and he manages to capture all of the Smurfs, apart from Smurfette, as his magic only affects real Smurfs. I'm gonna be honest, the ending of the film is clearly its weakest link in my opinion, as it's all just a bit cliched. Smurfette manages to free all of the Smurfs using the fact that she's not a real Smurf against Gargamel, but gets turned back into a lump of clay in the process. Don't shed tears just yet though, because the Smurfs do plenty of that by themselves, and their love and tears bring Smurfette back. Like I said, a bit overdone, and honestly, Pokemon did it better. But apart from a rather weak ending, I loved this film. It has a stacked cast, a clear love and respect for the franchise, a good Gargamel and sidekick combo, and a mostly serviceable story. As a result, it goes directly into A tier. Next, we watch the 2 holiday specials, so let's start with Smurfy Hollow. The Smurfs are having their annual competition to see who can find the most berries, because of course they are so fucking cute, and despite likely having the most severe concussion record of all time, Brainy has somehow won for the past 8 years. Scottish Smurf doesn't think this is down to his skill, so he decides to find out how Brainy does this. Scotty discovers that Brainy is able to win every year because he's willing to cross the spooky bridge, something no other Smurf dare has to do because they think there's a scary headless horseman on the other side. Scotty decides to use this to his advantage and scares Brainy off by pretending to be said headless horseman, leading him to pick up all of the berries for himself. Unfortunately, Brainy runs into one of Gargamel's traps, and when Smurfette and Scotty try to save him, they also get caught. But the Smurfs escape the traps through Smurfy ingenuity and escape Gargamel through Bat. Gargy then gets chased off by the actual headless horseman, and when I say actual headless horseman, I of course mean that he is chased off by a goat covered in Papa magic. This franchise is amazing. Final decision, B tier. I love A Christmas Carol. Disney, Muppet, creepy, human. I love them all. So I had high expectations. Thankfully, those expectations were surpassed across the board. The ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future take someone grumpy and ungrateful on a journey of self-discovery and self-improvement. What makes this perfect for the Smurfs though is that they literally have a character called Grouchy, and all he wants for Christmas is a hang glider, but every year he receives the same thing, a hat. He completely freaks out on the rest of the Smurfs, vowing never to take part in Christmas again. But the ghosts then show him how much he used to enjoy Christmas and how much the other Smurfs will suffer if he doesn't change his ways. But most importantly to me, and how I feel about this film, is that they show him that the hats that the Smurf received are handmade by Papa Smurf and all have unique attributes tailored to each Smurf. This absolutely broke my heart.
Little pocket inside to keep extra Smurf berries. And Taylor will be delighted with the extra large built-in pincushion.
But after seeing all of the hard work and care that Papa puts into his hats, Grouchy sees the error of his ways and celebrates Christmas with the other Smurfs. Oh, and speaking of his hat, it is a fucking hang glider. Papa Smurf is all-knowing and all-giving. This film is A tier. Every Smurf gets all they want under Papa's beautiful guidance, and I yearn to be one of them. I felt the blue inside of me fill to the brim, and then it began overflowing. That's right. In order to see the new Smurfs film in the cinema the way Papa intended, I became a Smurf. And you know what? It felt good. Do you love me more like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hubba. Is it making you feel sexually confused about Smurfs, or...?
Well, I
knew how I felt.
I walk the streets of London proud of who I've become. I wasn't hiding behind this tree because this is the dumbest thing I've done in my adult life. It's because it's what a Smurf would do. And if this film was as good as I knew it would be, this transition to blue was going to be permanent. Yeah, this film bad. Apologies for the abrupt change in scenery. I'm currently on holiday, and that's the only thing that's changed. Back to the new Smurfs film. My issues with it don't stem from the fact that it isn't fun in places, because it is. It's just that it lacks any creativity at all. It retreads things that I already didn't like about some of the previous films, like going to places in the real world.
It's Paris.
And it also rehashes some story elements from The Lost Village and just makes them worse. For instance, we know Smurfette, so honing in on her character and the idea that she feels lost in Smurf Village, it's a solid idea. You know what's not a solid idea? Doing the exact same thing, but having it be a main character we have no prior relationship with, and then having that character be voiced by somebody universally loved, like James Corden.
I still don't have a thing. And a quick follow-up to the follow-up, don't you think that that's a bit odd?
That's right, in a cast that includes Nick Offerman, Daniel Levy, Octavia Spencer, Hannah Waddingham, Kurt Russell, and John fucking Goodman, we have to be forced to root for James Corden.
Today, we're counting down our picks for the top 10 times James Corden was a wanker.
Who thought this was a good idea? You know what, Hollywood? I've got a few pitches for you. Piers Morgan is SpongeBob SquarePants. Chris Brown is Popeye the Sailor Man. The Manson family is Mystery Incorporated. Just let me know when my check's in the mail. In addition to literally nobody asking for more James Corden in their life, I'm also certain that nobody was thinking to themselves, you know what we need more of? Multiverse sagas. It's been done to death. And you know what? I think the original idea for this film was to make something like a musical, like a Frozen, which I think is going to be a very solid idea. The Smurfs are, by their very nature, very musical creatures, so I think that makes a lot of sense. Then signing Rihanna to do the music for the film, it could be a masterstroke, right? So, how many songs did she end up producing for this film, which she's the focal point of the marketing for? Two songs. And you know what? The songs are absolutely fine. They won't stick with you in any way once the film is over, but they're serviceable enough. But it just seems like such a missed opportunity. And it's not like the film doesn't have other original songs. DJ Khaled! It's just that all of these songs together, they don't feel cohesive in any way, and they don't move the narrative forward. So it's actually more like the Trolls films than it is like Frozen. And I just wish they would have stuck with the whole full musical idea, because I think that could have been really cool. But alas, we are stuck with this D-tier disappointment. So that's it, right? I watched all the Smurfs films, and it's time to call it a day. What? What do you mean it's only 5 p.m? I've still got 15 more hours of Smurfs content to go? No, 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 no! In order to feel less depressed about the reality I've thrust upon myself, I, of course, started drinking. Aaron, very understandably at this point, decided to go for a walk, presumably to regain some sanity after a day filled with Smurfs. But I decided to power on ahead and move on to the first of 2 video games I bought for this video, Smurfs Dreams, which really makes you feel like a little blue goblin thing. In theory, this game takes you on a mission to rescue your fellow Smurfs from a sleep spell cast by Gargamel. In reality, the game puts a sleep spell on you with how boring it is. It's one of those platformers that's very close to just being a Super Mario 3D World ripoff. The camera angles, the jumping mechanics, the boss fights, it's all very much of the same. But what this game and others that try to emulate Mario fail to get right is difficulty, because Super Mario 3D can have tricky bits to it. And I know this game is made for kids, but for the most part, so are the Mario games. And most of the fun in playing platformers is overcoming the challenge of timing a jump just right, or testing the limits of the mechanics to do cool things the developers might not have intended. In overly simplistic versions like this, that's just not on offer for players. So it goes directly into the D tier. Next up, it was time for Smurfs Kart! This is when the booze really started to flow freely.
The truth will set you free.
But first it will piss you off.
This is, without any exaggeration, the worst racing game I've ever played in my entire life. This is absolute arse. And the only thing that Aaron and I seemed to dislike more than the controls was Smurfette.
Oh, you fucker, Smurfette. Smurfette's a bitch.
Smurfette's right on my arse. We did make the experience fun by drinking some top-notch booze.
Hello, man.
Having some intellectually stimulating conversations.
You were 10 or 11 when Michael Jackson passed away.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting you don't even remember 9/11.
I was too.
And in the end, thankfully, I managed to triumph as Papa Smurf, which meant that we didn't even feel compelled to play another round of this mess.
Papa! Ooh.
I think it's fair to say that of all of the Smurfs content I consumed over those 24 hours, every single one of them had some redeeming qualities. I can't say that for Smurfs Kart, which can only mean one thing: it lands in F tier. Once we wrapped up with Smurfs Kart, I only had 8 hours of smurfing left, which is fine. I'm fine. I wasn't even thinking at this point about how good it would feel to whack Brainy with a giant hammer. For the next 8 hours, I watched the original Smurfs cartoon, which I grew up with, as well as the new 3D animated show. Both of these shows are great, in my opinion, but I was deliriously tired and quite drunk for most of it, so there were scenes in there for sure, which did freak me out a fair bit. If I had to pick a favorite episode I watched from the classic animated show, it would have to be the one that features the purple Smurfs. I remember being scared shitless by this story growing up. It's essentially a zombie apocalypse told as a Smurf story. This all starts when one of the Smurfs gets bitten by this purple fly, and they transform into this mindless, incoherent version of themselves. They then suddenly develop an urge to bite the other Smurf to turn them purple as well. And just tell me this wouldn't terrify you as a kid. But the episode's great, and so is the show. So with no nostalgia influencing my decision in any way, shape, or form, it obviously goes directly into S tier. And now on to the new animated show. This one was on Netflix, which was very handy, and my favorite episode from the show was absolutely insane. It all centers around one of my favorite Smurfs, Hefty, who is very sad that Smurfette isn't in love with him. Somehow he gets convinced that it's because he's got such a big nose. I think we can all agree that the unrealistic beauty standards set by influencer Smurf are to blame for this.
Smash that subscribe button!
So what does Hefty do about this nose problem that he's having? Well, he tries to get what I can only consider to be a Smurf nose job. And just thinking about that sentence is absolutely bizarre. What's even more bizarre is that instead of making his nose smaller like he'd hoped, Hefty somehow manages to turn himself into a giant sentient nose. And again, tell me this isn't just a little bit terrifying. But in essence, this episode is all about body positivity and being happy in your own skin, which I think we can all agree is a beautiful message. I'll place this show slightly below the classic one just because I'm not blinded by nostalgia towards it, but make no mistake, this is a great watch for kids. And just like that, my Smurf venture drew to a close.
It's over. This self-imposed prison has come to an end. I never want to think about the Smurfs again. I never want to look at a Smurf again.
So what did I learn during this brave and important experience? Well, for one thing, the Smurfs are awesome. And even though this was a very dumb challenge to put myself through, it did have its intended effect. It did rekindle my love for the Smurfs. Maybe brainwashing isn't so bad? And the great thing is, even the dumbest parts of this experience were kind of amazing. When I went to the cinema, dressed as a Smurf, I felt like the world's biggest tit. But when the kids there saw me walk in, they genuinely lit up. However, one person that wasn't entirely thrilled to see me was what I thought was my Uber driver, but turned out to just be a random man parking outside of his house. So I was so anxious to get off the streets of London back to my place that I didn't check the license plate of the person that pulled up next to me. So when I opened the door to his car, dressed as an insane Smurf person, I thought he was saying no, 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 because he didn't want my blue body paint all lathered over his car. So I looked him dead in the eye and I said, don't worry, it doesn't come off. As I slid his child seat from my side of the car to the other one. Now, the two child seats in the back maybe should have been an indication to me that this wasn't an Uber. So if you are that man, that non-Uber driver, and you see this video somehow, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did to your day. But apart from this whole experience putting me back on the Smurfs train, choo choo, it's also very clear to me that Hollywood has no idea what to do with these characters anymore. It's such an interesting world, the world of Hollywood. I was recently reading Terry Pratchett's biography written by his longtime assistant, Rob Wilkins. The book is great, but what really sat with me is Rob describing his and Terry's experiences sitting down with Hollywood big shots and how disconnected these people are from the franchises they're trying to get the rights to. For reference, Discworld has sold over 80 million units worldwide, translated into 37 languages, and Terry was the #1 best-selling British author of the 90s. So it should be clear that these are stories that are beloved by millions, just as they are, right? Well, one of the projects Pratchett had going on with Sam Raimi of Spider-Man fame blew up because the studio tried to turn one of his characters into what was essentially a Disney princess, which, if you know anything about Terry Pratchett's work, is probably one of the last things he would ever want to do. He was fiercely protective over his franchise and never wanted to dumb things down for kids.
I saw what the script ended up as, and it was an inversion of everything that I tried to put into that book.
In another meeting for an adaptation of Truckers, an executive thought it would be a good idea to roll out a table full of plastic figurines to show Pratchett how much money he could make through licensing, which again, a tiny amount of research would have told you is a terrible idea. Terry had plenty of suitors that wanted to make official Discworld merch, but he decided to go with a tiny artisanal studio in Somerset to make his products because he hated mass-produced plastic crap. It's kind of like that time when Hayao Miyazaki was shown the 3D zombie thing, and he just goes like, this is an affront to art, this is disgusting, why have you shown this to me? That's how I imagine Terry Pratchett being in that meeting. The plastic figurine debacle made Terry Pratchett so mad that he cancelled any plans for a Truckers film. But funnily enough, he believed that the DNA of the film that was supposed to be Truckers was used later on for the Trolls film. It just goes to show that in most of the instances where these films are being produced off of recognizable franchises, the film is actually franchise agnostic. It could be set in pretty much any universe.
Okay, Brian, we've had our differences, but this is the moment where we stand together and try.
Classic Brian.
And the reason why this whole Terry Pratchett story is so relevant to the Smurfs is because it's clear that the creator of the Smurfs, Peyo, was just as protective over his franchise, if not more, than Pratchett was over Discworld. Peyo was directly involved in early merchandising and the original Hanna-Barbera cartoon. So when I'm thinking about the previous adaptations of this franchise and what might be coming up in the future, I'm viewing it through this dual lens. Lens number one, there is some Hollywood fucko somewhere that has no connection to these characters at all and just wants a recognizable franchise that's going to sell them loads of plastic figurines. And lens number 2, the creator of these characters was very protective over them and wanted them to not be overly modernized and wanted them to be almost timeless. Here's a quote from the man himself: "I refuse to entrust my business to professionals who would rather sell me a bill of goods or neglect the quality for a larger profit. And on no account will I accept that." So with that in mind, do we feel like the Smurfs content I've reviewed as part of this experience holds up to that standard? It's obviously a very mixed bag, but I think that's what made The Lost Village so special. The bones of the story don't feel like they could be set in another universe. All this is to say that I hope this series that has meant so much to so many is allowed to return to that state of organic expansion and not lean too heavily into the fame of the attached stars or feel compelled to use story tropes that are trendy and have nothing to do with the core characters. I found this very handy Beano quiz, very respectable, very reputable institution. I was trying to find a BuzzFeed one, but it just seems like there's one and it looks a little bit crap. Whereas this, you can see, this work's been put into this. What I also like about this is they'll tell you what the rarest answer is. If you get Papa Smurf, you're in like Smurf Mensa. I don't know, I gotta tell you, I'm a bit nervous. How does a forest make me feel? How does this specific forest? This one looks kind of dark and dreary, to be honest. It makes me a bit scared. Okay, worried. Pick a type of mushroom. I quite like. I mean, I'm up with mushrooms in basically anything. So, the white ones I get at the shop, I'll say that because I like any I can get at the shop. So, what's in my bag right now? Well, I am currently transporting cocaine from South America as a drug mule, so I probably shouldn't put that down. Which of these bad habits do you have? Oh God, probably all of them. Taking all day, reading comprehension, taking all the time really fast with no, talking all the time with really fast breaks, talking all the time really fast with no breaks ever. You can tell me, you can feedback on this video. Is that what I did? Did I not give you guys enough time to take a breather? Getting angry really easily. Yeah, that happens. Forgetting things. Oh, I mean, I do these. Ara's going to watch this and she's going to be like, he doesn't even remember his own name, so it's probably going to be that one. To be fair, I go by many because I'm an international spy. What do I think about Gargamel? Well, to be fair, he's very good at magic, so we're just going to... What else was on the offer there? I actually have a great plan for how to defeat him. I don't really want to defeat him, like, not like finally defeat him, you know what I mean? I always wanted to be around. He needs to stay away. Yeah, with that face. He's evil, but I hope he's okay, really. I do think of that, but honestly, I just want to pump him up a little bit, so he is very good at magic. What's my favourite part of the forest? The flowers, the trees, the animals? I'd probably say the tree. Animals. I'll say animals. What makes me happy? Can I just say these two are too happy? Watching everyone else have fun. So like a happiness cuckold. Solving a tricky problem. Yeah. People do come to me with their problems all the time. Out of these ones, I mean, let's say solving a tricky. I don't want to be the cuckold one, so I'm just gonna say solving a tricky problem. Which of these Smurfs is the most annoying? Surely I can't put them down like that. Obviously not Hefty, he's one of my favourites. None of them, how dare you? How dare you? A little bit brainy, but how dare you? How often do you use the word Smurfy? Probably too much. Aaron doesn't like it when I say she's looking very Smurfy today, so I should probably stop. Maybe not as much as others, but still a lot. Now you can put in the comment section down below what you think I am. You are just lovely. You are brave. You are wise. You are smart. I am pretty wisdomous, so I'm going to say wise. Oh, fuck off. I'm right in the Mensa Club, baby.